Thank you very much for having found time. And our next speaker will be Veronika Bedenko, analyst of the program Open Nuclear Network, which is located in Austria now. And actually their work is as maximum reflecting what we're discussing at this forum, and I used some of their tools. Please listen carefully to what Veronika is going to share and prepare interesting questions. Veronika, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Dmitry. Daniel had a very good introduction to my presentation, having said about usage of these technologies by non-state actors.
Об этом буду рассказывать. Так.
As I'm representing non-state actors, I will talk about this.
Так, все должно работать.
Just a second, I hope it works now. Great. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, allow me to express gratitude to the organizers of the forum for having this opportunity to communicate virtually and to discuss urgent issues related to geospatial technologies. I'm very happy to participate in this event, and thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Veronika Bedenko. I work as an analytic in Vienna non-governmental research center of Open Nuclear Network, where we're dealing with the decrease of risk of nuclear threat. One of the main directions of our work is working with the open sources of data, including geospatial data. And today I'm going to talk about opportunities of using open source data and geospatial data in research purposes for non-proliferation and disarmament purposes. Manufacturing of analytical project based on open data has reached incredible results within recent years. In this is that way we heard about the reports made by journalists and using the data from open sources. The results of these investigations exceed or the same qualitative as investigation of police and special services, the organization who have access to sensible information and who have tools for assembling that. Democratization, or in other words, simplification of access of a vast range of people to information which used to be available only to state institutions and in companies, created revolution in investigation and intelligence environment. I have brought to this slide quite a provocative quotation of the former Director of Intelligence Department of Ministry of Defense of the USA, General Lieutenant Samuel Wilson, where he says that 90% of surveyed data, which belongs to American reconnaissances, comes from open sources. That's really an incredible figure. It means that we have an opportunity to know 90% of what American intelligence know. How lucky we are. But the problem of 21st century is not only access to information, but incapability to find important and necessary information in open sources and analyze it correctly. That is why now Sherlock Holmes is the idol of all the analysts with his capabilities to find proper information and identify necessary touches. Which data do we call open data? At this slide, I show several categories of data from open sources, which most of all analytic of open data deals with. This is geospatial data, which are in the focus of our forum today. Data from mass media, data from social networks, the content that we keep on creating every day, databases and archives, the compromised data, list of contacts, and so on and so forth. The importance of work with all these kinds of data operations is admitted by most of the organizations in disarmament and the non-proliferation activities. A department with working with open sources of data present in UN or International Agency on Nuclear Energy in AI. You have heard about the research of Holland journalists, and from an example of research sphere, I can mention one of my alma maters, the Military Institute on International Research, where courses on geospatial analysis and open data courses are given to students.
Джеймса Мартина по исследованию вопросов нераспространения при том же Мидлберийском институте. В качестве более узконаправленных примеров можно упомянуть информационный портал, занимающийся
We can also mention a special information portal that performs the analytics in the North Korea. They publish analytical data science based on geospatial data. Together, we speak about specific opportunities of use of geospatial data. So I want to focus on these types of data in the next slides. With the use of geospatial data, different research companies in the area of non-proliferation are trying to answer quite a lot of questions of the world security agenda, such as verification of a test performed in North Korea or determination of an operation status of particular nuclear power plant or analysis of patterns of traffic of vessels to assess increase or decrease of different military tension in that area. Geospatial technologies have made a step forward during the last half a century, and the forum we are holding today is a proof of it. One of the best examples are satellite images or satellite photographs, which I would like to discuss in more details because they are especially interested for research in the area of non-proliferation. In this slide, you can see a comparison of two satellite snapshots of 1960 and 2009, which were made in the very same locations. That is a runway of Messerschmitt air plant. You can see the difference clearly at first sight. In the imagery from 1960, we can only roughly assess the geographical shape of the location, as well as guess that those white lines are resembling a runway or the airbase and the parking apron. In the imagery of 2009, there are many more details for an analysis. In addition to the very clear layout of the runway and parking apron, we can even see and count individual planes surrounding supporting infrastructure and many other little details that now we can observe due to a significant technological improvement of satellite imagery collection. And let's have one more example. Let's have a look at another example of resolution of imagery. We have a resolution of 0.5 meter, and we can even see the logos on the wings of the plane. In this example, it's a US B-52 bomber. What's important here is that not only we did get a better resolution and precision, but it is now becoming commercially available to the general public. So this type of intelligence is no longer exclusive to the states and governments. And many of you are probably familiar with this image, and I have a story that's connected to that. It was published on Twitter in 2019 by President of the USA, Donald Trump. As we found out later, it was made by an intelligence satellite of the US, and Mr. Trump just tweeted an intelligence results of US intelligence, and he informed all the world about the capabilities of American intelligence. And we know, thanks to him, that the US can get imagery of 0.20 meters resolution. If you don't cooperate with American intelligence, if you work for a private non-governmental actor, the best resolution you can get is about 50 centimeters. You can see examples of imagery of Maxar company in this slide. So is it so significant what the difference in the resolution is, whether it's 30, 20 or 50 centimeters? Both images are giving us an opportunity to understand that the test launch of Iranian rocket was not successful. That's what we see actually in the image, and this information can be obtained both by intelligence and by just any private analytical company which has an account in the special system, by any company that provides images on a commercial basis. In this slide, I wanted to demonstrate types of satellites which are used for collection of imageries from different commercial providers of satellite images. For example, Maxar is working on providing commercial access to the images with 0.3 meters resolution. So we are coming close to an opportunity that the American intelligence have. In the following slides, I would like to share with you examples of analysis of images from satellites used by research centers. In this particular image, you can see an analysis of the infrared spectrum of the image. The image on the right is displayed in the optical spectrum usual to our eye. Now let's imagine you have to define areas with good green vegetation. So in the right, everything looks good and green. On the left, it's the same image in infrared spectrum, and we can see that the lawn of the stadium is different from the background. The infrared spectrum helps us differentiate between natural vegetation and artificial vegetation. It's something that we can do only with infrared spectrum. This function is very useful for identification of camouflage objects among natural vegetation, and it provides opportunities to non-commercial organization, not to mention even the governmental infrastructure, to identify objects of sensitive infrastructure which would not be which their owners would not like to be detected. Another example of usage of satellite imagery is working with nighttime images. You can see the perimeters of security of objects which are lit. Usually it's an indicator of sensitivity of such an object. So there must be something very important that is surrounded by this gate, by this border. So it could be some kind of object of higher security. So this is also a helpful feature. That's another example of working with heat analysis or thermal analysis of an image, a map. So you can identify areas with higher or lower surface temperature. You can see an example of an analysis performed by an analytical center. So they made this special heat map and identified different objects in North Korea. You can see obvious red zones in the area of a radiochemical laboratory and centers for enrichment. They are the so-called red flag and an opportunity to say that most likely on these objects, on these sites, there is some activity going on. In this slide, you can see an example of comparison of two satellite images made with the help of a radar. Solar imagery. So one of the images was made in 2017 before the nuclear tests of the North Korea, the other after them. Comparison of these two images shows an obvious shift of the ground of soil on the mountain where the test took place. These images helped prove that the tests were conducted by North Korea and helped identify the exact location of that test, the exact mountain in the tunnel which the test was conducted. No other visual indicators of the test were not noticed but with the help of the analysis of the images made by radar, it became possible. And the last highlight is dynamic images, or sometimes they constitute whole videos that help identify the operational status of a monitored object. With the help of those recordings, the analysts can watch the traffic of personnel or vehicles on the territory of a site, which helps understand patterns of operation of an object or the object operational status. I would like to stop here, even though this topic is basically endless. There have been a lot of presentations on this forum which speak about other ways to work with geospatial data, which proves there is great potential and a wide range of application in different industries, including research area in which I work and am happy to work. Thank you very much. Veronika, thank you very much. Again, my generic question, and you can be prepared.